This is the download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news in the business of podcasting. I'm Gavin Gaddis. Here's what you need to know for today, Wednesday, June 25th. First up, before I get into the top story, last call time. You won't hear about it tomorrow because it'll be too late. This Thursday, that's tomorrow again, June 26th. At 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sounds Profitable and SiriusXM Media / the SiriusXM Podcast Network are teaming up for the free webinar, Unlock the Power of Purpose-Driven Podcasting. This will be a presentation of data from the advertising landscape that focuses on two of the industry's fastest growing audience segments, health and fitness and self-improvement podcast consumers. You will enjoy hosts Tom Webster and Alexandria Kajia as they break down how these audience segments use podcasts in their daily routines, the surprising social role recommendations play in their content choices, and why these genres lead in openness to both brand integrations and celebrity-hosted shows. Registration is free, easy, and there's a link in the show notes. For today's top story, listen up. Your audio audience is watching you, not necessarily your podcast. A look at data regarding how podcast audiences consume audio and or video. It's no secret video podcasting has grown in recent years, but this has also introduced shows that straddle the divide, which then introduces new pain points, like formerly audio-first productions now having hosts refer to visual elements that alienate audio-first consumers, such as Triton Digital's Sharon Taylor writing this piece. She argues the best direction forward is to approach the two forms of podcasting as what they are, separate mediums with their own audience expectations and requirements. A podcast adapted for video will have the best chances of success if it considers the expectations of the average YouTube viewer instead of the idea of an audio-only consumer who also wants to occasionally look at a screen. YouTube may not be the place for any specific given podcast depending on their various requirements or goals, but it is a place for the podcaster themselves to be seen and recognized. Next up, Spotify's video podcast program draws praise from creators and skepticism from networks. 6 months into the Spotify partner program, Digiday finds two distinct camps have formed. Smaller individual creators who have embraced the program's share of ad revenue / subscription revenue for video podcast watch time, and podcasters in larger networks who've held off in favor of dynamic ad revenue. The former, largely speaking anonymously, cite the lack of dynamic ad opportunity as cannibalizing an episode's revenue potential long term. The latter team, including companies like YMH Studios and Flight Story, say the Spotify partner program paid out more than their YouTube presences over the past 6 months. On to the next story, DIY Broadcast, how underrepresented sports are building their own streaming stacks. With the ability to automate various aspects of the traditional broadcast TV process, for example, automated cameras, cloud production platforms, sports leagues that haven't gotten much coverage on TV are able to build out their broadcast capabilities. Streamlined production capabilities that then allow distribution to live streams on YouTube, apps, or even club-owned over-the-top platforms. And with that independence comes new revenue streams in the form of memberships, donation codes displayed during gameplay, and sponsor overlays, just to name 3. While not specifically about podcasting, this story serves as a prime example of a form of media circumnavigating gatekeepers, and it happens to be a form of media that would benefit greatly from podcasting becoming part of that growth journey. We love niche audiences, and what's more niche than niche sports? Which, by the way, if you'd like a YouTube recommendation, have fun getting into the world of professional tag. It's a hell of a watch. And on to the next story. This one's a rarity because it has an exclamation mark. Germany, young female listeners are shaping the podcast market. A new report from 7-One Audio shows the gender of podcast-consuming audiences in German-speaking countries have started to skew towards women, with all age demographics adding up to over 50% of podcast consumption time. Podcasting continues to grow steadily in listenership and production, with nearly 13,000 new German-language podcasts published last year alone. The 2025 7-1 audio study also finds this is the first time podcast consumption overtakes radio with young German-speaking audiences, with 73% of 18 to 29-year-olds consuming podcasts, while radio dropped 5% year over year to just 70% with that same demographic this year. And for the final top story, YouTube takes a peek at how its recommendation algorithms work. During a recent VidCon session titled YouTube Decoded, YouTube executives shared some insight into how the YouTube algorithm, or in reality, bundle of algorithms, works. A key insight is the premise that the oft-theorized about recommendation algorithms aren't specifically pointed at the videos or their creators, but specifically the viewer. User behavior has strong influence on whether YouTube recommends something to their usual stable of favorites or something wholly new from a creator they've never encountered. The panel also dispelled some common myths about the YouTube recommendation algorithm, such as engagement on videos having a direct impact on it being recommended to more users, including the sub-conspiracy theory that dislikes are treated the same as likes as far as recommendations. In reality, the system is built to try and avoid heavily disliked content that the algorithms decide the user in question would also click dislike on. Which is to say, a fundamental premise of producing content on YouTube is keeping a specific audience member in mind, as YouTube itself is basically a funnel to guide that specific audience to that specific type of content. With that, we are on to the rest of the news. A recent episode of Ready, Set, Startup features our very own Brian Barletta as he shares the story of how Sounds Profitable came to be and its mission to uplift the podcasting industry overall. SoundCloud has extended their long-standing exclusivity agreement with AdsWiz. With the renewal, I said renewal weird there, and I'm not cutting it out. With the renewal, AdsWiz will continue their role as SoundCloud's exclusive seller of audio ad inventory in 14 European markets. Dallas Magazine has a new feature piece interviewing filmmaker Sean Michael Colon, creator of the podcasting documentary Age of Audio, which debuts at Oak Cliff Film Festival. Lower Street and Podcast Marketing Academy have published their third annual podcast marketing trends report based on a survey of 311 podcasters who shared 12 months of monthly download data. Radio World covers the iHeartMedia announcements that the company is using AI to translate some of its most successful podcasts into multiple languages for global publication. And finally, UK sports podcast network Sports Social has become the audio platform for 8 Premier League teams for the 2024-2025 season. Be sure to check out the links to every article mentioned right in your podcast listening app or at soundsprofitable.com, where you can also subscribe to the newsletter version. The download is written and produced by myself, Tom Webster, and Brian Barletta. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Gavin Gaddis. Download us again tomorrow.